Go ahead and I'm going to start this car up. Once again, like I said, I'm starting it up so that the oil gets circulated through the engine. I'm going to put my foot on the brake. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit the start button. I'm looking at the dashboard lights and making sure everything looks copacetic, which it does. Everything looks good. I only have to let this car run for maybe 10 seconds at the most. You can see there, it says maintenance required, visit your dealer. So we got to make sure that we reset that light when we're finished here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn off the car now. Now I actually have to wait about 15 seconds for all the oil that was just circulating around inside of this engine to wait for all that oil to drop down to the bottom of the engine. That's a really important step because if I immediately pull out my dipstick and check it right now, it might read a little bit low. Dipstick, once again, I'm not even going to look at it. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe it off. Any residual oil on there so I can get a nice fresh reading when it goes down into the sump. Push it all the way down so it clicks, pull it out, hold it horizontal, and go ahead and do your read. Now in this case, it shows that I'm just a little bit low. So it doesn't take quite 5 quarts, but it takes a little bit more than 4 quarts. So I'm going to add a little less than a half a quart, because a half a quart would be halfway between here. I think I'm going to add about a quarter of a quart, so it gets right to that full mark right there. All right. The oil container also has a level indicator right here. This clear line indicates how much oil is in here. So like I said, I'm going to pour about a quarter of this in there. A little bit more. All right. That's about a quarter of a quart, maybe even a little bit more. That might be more like a third of a quart, but that'll be all right. I'm going to leave this just like this, and now I'm going to check that oil again. Now, that oil takes a little bit of time. Once again, it takes a little bit of time from where I poured it into the top of the engine for it to make its way all the way to the bottom of the engine. But me just talking to you during this time, it's already done that. So we're good to go. We can go ahead and check it. But you can't pour it in and immediately check it. You got to give it just a little bit of time. You can't really rush it. Or else, once again, it'll show that it's low. Wipe the dipstick off. Go ahead. Dipstick in, push it till it stops, pull it out, and now we're going to check it. Hold it horizontal. And sure enough, it shows that I'm literally right on the bottom of that dot right there. So this is perfect. I'm going to leave it just like that. Using the paper towel to catch the oil coming from the funnel. And I'm going to put this oil cap on immediately. If I leave it off and then step away from the engine, I might forget about it. And let me tell you, when an engine gets driven down the road without an oil cap on it, it makes a huge, huge mess. Okay, so our oil change is not 100% done until you turn off that reminder that's on the dashboard that said oil maintenance required, and also you make an oil reminder sticker. Now, I said already that this vehicle, we're going to start doing oil changes on it every 5,000 miles. Now, some people don't even drive 5,000 miles in a year. Well, if you drive less than 5,000 miles a year, you need to get your oil changed at least once a year. I have a couple of friends of mine that drive very, very little, but their vehicles always come in once a year for us to do a New York State inspection. And when they come in for their yearly New York State inspection, I do an oil change to them too. So oil can absorb water. It can basically attract all these things. And you want it to do that. You want it to absorb moisture that's inside of the engine and hold on to it. But it's just like a sponge. It can only absorb enough moisture and water and dirt until it can't do it anymore. And at that point, the oil needs to be changed. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make my oil reminder sticker. So to do that, I need to know the mileage of the actual car itself. So I'm going to get in the car and take a look. Now, this probably was the very first oil change this car has. It's only got 5,100 miles on it. So 5,148 miles on it. Now, what I do is I always round to the nearest hundreds. So we're going to say that this car has 5,100 miles on it, which means the oil reminder sticker that I'm going to place right up here in the corner is going to say 10,100 miles is when the car is due for its next oil change. Okay. Now you could also say 5 months from now. That's not so necessary anymore. It used to be very necessary. I only put the mileage now. So I'm going to put 10,100 miles. I'm going to write it right up here. And on that sticker, I'm going to put my name on there. So that way, if there's a problem or the customer has a question of whoever worked on their vehicle, we know exactly who worked on it. So I'm going to ask you to do the same. If you do an oil change, if you and one of your buddies does an oil change, when you're doing your oil reminder sticker, I'm going to ask for you to very neatly write your names at somewhere on the oil reminder sticker. Let me go get that. So on here, it's asking for the date and it's asking for the mileage. I don't want to put today's date. I know what today's date is. This is where you would do that five months you would write up here. In this case, I'm going to do 1 year from now. So it's October. It's an early October 2020. So I'm going to put October of 2021. Okay, so I'll write 10-2021. I'm going to put my name on here. So up at somewhere on the top or somewhere on here, I'm going to write Roraback. For the mileage, 5,000 miles over 5,100 miles is 10,100 miles. And that's when the next oil change is due. I'm going to place it on the windshield, and then we're going to reset the light. I'm going to place my oil reminder sticker nice and centered right in the corner of the windshield, right there. Okay? That's a perfect spot for it. Next, I got to reset this maintenance light. Now, to reset the maintenance light, I'm going to look up on the computer. I'm going to use my phone. I'm going to use something to find out, how do I reset the maintenance light on this Toyota RAV4? Now, I have a feeling I can probably do it right through this message center. Let me just take a look. Okay, so in fact, I do have to look up how to actually reset this oil maintenance light on this car. 2019 RAV4 oil maintenance reset. Look at that. So oil maintenance light reset. Put your key in the ignition. Push and hold the trip meter reset button. Hold the odometer for 10 seconds. Once the light goes out, release the odometer button. Okay. That seems simple enough. Let's go do it. I'm going to press this button up here. I know you guys can't see it that well. And turn on the ignition. I'm going to hold it for 10 seconds, like it said. Okay. Now, I'm going to turn off the ignition. And I'm going to see if the light comes back on. And no, the light stayed off. That's a beautiful thing. Right now, it would say oil maintenance reset, but it's all good. You also want to check your other fluids under the hood while you have this open. So you do want to check your coolant level. You do want to check your brake fluid. Obviously, look at the condition of the battery and any other fluids that you may have underneath here. This is where your windshield washer fluid goes, so you would want to top off your windshield washer fluid as well. Okay, so that's going to end our oil change procedure for this 2019 Toyota RAV4.